Hi everyone. Recently I posted a video speed painting of horses appearing out of the mist. Several of my viewers requested a video showing them how to get that misty quality in their paintings. So in this video I'm just going to talk you through how to create that misty effect. This tutorial is meant for beginners and anyone else who is interested. The first thing you will need is a stiff bristled older brush. You're going to be using a dry brush technique, so you'll want a stiff brush to scrub on the canvas. I save all of my old brushes for projects like this. Even old stencil brushes would work here. Other items to have ready are paint. You need titanium white. If you want a mist that's a different color than white, just add a drop of your chosen color to the white, but keep it very light. Obviously, this is going to be mist, so you don't want it to take over and saturate the painting. You also will want a large rag or a bunch of paper towels. This is for blotting because you're going to be blotting nearly all of the paint off of your brush before touching that brush to the canvas. You need a spritz bottle or just a little dropper to add a little bit of water to your paint. I know it seems weird to add water to a paint you're just going to pretty much dry off of your brush before you use it, but that is kind of how this stuff works. So let's slow this down and get started. The first thing, as I said, you need is that very stiff brush, and you need a rag or paper towel to blot that brush. And what you're going to be doing is blotting almost all the painting off of your brush, all the paint off of your brush. And then you're going to start swirling your brush in circular style on the painting where you want the mist to begin. I started up at that shoulder on the far left, but then I realized, as I am left-handed, probably better off to start over on the right-hand side of the canvas so I'm not running my hand across paint that's still damp. So what I'm doing is, you notice that I didn't do details in the bottoms of these horses. I just laid in a little bit of outline for most of these horses because I knew I was going to fade them out in the mist. So I didn't want a lot of detail that I was just going to be obscuring later. The detail is in the heads and shoulders of the horses. So anyway, what I'm doing is I'm just dipping my brush in that paint that's been misted down a little bit, and then I am cleaning almost all of that paint off of the brush onto my rag or paper towel, and then applying the brush in circular motion on the painting. And I'm kind of scrubbing it in. You're kind of using like a scrubbing effect. If your paint goes on too thick or too white, you still have too much paint on the brush and you need to blot it some more. This technique requires very little paint. So I'm just deciding where I want the mist to kind of be. I don't want to cover up the pretty pattern that the chain pull that I did underneath the horses added to the picture, but I do want to fade it out a little bit. So I'm just getting some of this fog behind that rightmost horse and a little bit on the surface of the horse itself, but I don't want to cloud the horse out too much, so I'm spending most of my time around the edges of that horse on the right and just scrubbing in slowly as much as I can. And so that's kind of what I'm doing this whole time. So I'm applying paint to the brush, I'm scrubbing it off, and then I'm using a circular motion to scrub the fog back in. And I'm staying outside the lines of the horses most of the time, and I'm trying to get, that watery effect down at the bottom of the painting. It's too dark, so I'm really want to scrub a lot of that foggy effect in. And if you'll look, it's already beginning to look correct, like mist. See right there, I still had too much paint on my brush, so I wiped it off with my finger really quickly before it would dry, and I patted my brush on my rag a little bit more because that was just too much paint still. And And that's an easy thing to do. If you find that you have too much white on your brush, just wipe it off the painting and start over. Blot your brush a little more before you come back in with those scrubby circles. So that's what I'm doing now. There's a little much silver down at the bottom and a little too much dark black. I kind of want this to look as if the horses are coming out of the mist and out of water, as if they're running toward the beach from the water on a foggy morning. So that's the effect I'm looking for. So I'm just going to spend some time scrubbing in that fog, and I'm going to speed this up. You don't have to put up with me watching this whole thing in real time. And then I'm going to slow back down again when I get to the end of this and completion of this scrubbing in effect, and tell you the next step. Okay, so high speed putting in the fog, and if you'll notice, what I noticed about the middle horse was, oops, there's no left hind leg showing. It looked like it was standing on 3 legs, like it's on little stilts. So I just took a little bit of light gray and put just a hint of a shadow of a hind leg in there. That's one thing that's so good and forgiving about acrylic paints, is that you can fix things as you go. Just remember to let something fully dry before you try to paint over it, or you'll likely kind of peel the paint back off in the underlayer if it's still wet. So, but acrylic dries fast, and it's easy to fix and adjust those things as you go. So I'm getting ready to finish up the fog and just do one more thing to this painting before I find that it's done. Let's slow back down so we can talk about that. So once I get all the fog laid in, the next thing I want to do, because I want the horses to look like they're coming out of water and mist, not just fog, is I'm going to do just a little bit of a splatter with my brush. I'm going to wet down, so wet down your titanium white, your paint, and this will not be for dry brushing, this will be for splattering. I just take that same bristle brush and I dip it in my wetted down, thinned out paint, and I'm just going to use my fingernail, just like this, to splatter little white dots that look like droplets of water onto the painting, because again, I want it to look as if they're coming not just out of the fog, but running out of the water toward the beach in the fog. It's very subtle. It's very, it doesn't matter if you decide to do this or not. The mist itself, you can have a misty woodland forest where you don't need these splatters, but just a little quick tip: if the splatter is too big when you flick it onto the canvas, or if it lands somewhere you don't want it, all you have to do is quickly wipe it off, wipe it away. But I'm just using this little bit of just my fingernail just to splatter the paint onto the brush. You could also use a toothbrush. A lot of people like to use a toothbrush to do this kind of effect, but the stiff bristle brushes work just fine. It's harder to get the paint out from under my fingernails later than to actually do this little splattering technique. So there you have it. That is how to get a misty effect in your painting. If you're already finished with a painting and want to paint over the top, there are other techniques that show you how to get mist in a background before you paint detail near the front. But this particular instruction is to be able to put in a fog after you've completed the rest of the painting. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for more art content. Hit that little bell if you want to be notified when my next videos go up. There's also a link below to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined, as well as a link to my Facebook art page. I hope you're staying safe and that you have a great day.